Hi, it's Lee from coloringqueen.net, and I thought I'd colour in from my new colouring book, which is the Lacy Sunshine Greyscale. I reviewed it the other day. I'll pop a link to that below the video. And I thought I'd use my Lyra Rembrandt pencils because I haven't given them an outing for quite a while. So let's see, what shall we colour this little tiger? I'm thinking orange, definitely. So a couple of oranges there. And maybe a tan. We'll see how we go. So I hope you're all having a great day today. It's Monday here in Australia. And I'm sorry I have been absent and I haven't really done many videos and whatnot. And I'm sure you're probably thinking, oh, well, you know, everyone's in lockdown, so should have heaps of time to do videos and whatnot. And whilst that's sort of true, it's not 100% true for me because I've been quite sick with infected sinuses, which I think I mentioned the other week, but I'm not sure. Anyway, the tablets that I was taking weren't working for me, and oh dear, someone asked me to say the pencils and I've forgotten already. The first one was dark orange, and that's 015, and then gold ochre, which is 083. Sorry. Yeah, so I had the infected sinuses, and I did see an online doctor because I couldn't get to see a doctor here in Brisbane because I haven't been to the doctor since we moved, and they're not taking new patients, so wasn't able to see anyone in person, so I just had to make do with the online. And they did prescribe, you know, some antibiotics and whatnot, but by the end of the 5 days the course of the antibiotics, I still wasn't any better. And I didn't video because I didn't want to inflict you with, I was having a lot of trouble breathing, and I was, yeah, not feeling too good. And so I didn't do any videos, and even on the days that I did feel a bit better, I'm not used to the new camera, so I wanted to fiddle about with that. And then David had to make some alterations. You might notice I've got a new desk. It's not actually a new desk, it's actually part of the kitchen bench from our downstairs kitchenette. And it's a little leftover piece so that I could get the right filming angle. We had to take away my normal desk, and David made some alterations to it last night, but you know, like all things, I've got to wait for him to have the time and to come home from work to do that for me. And because my camera angle was all wrong on the old desk, I wasn't really able to film. So, and plus I had the really bad sinus infection as well, so it just wasn't meant to be. But hopefully now I'm on the mend, and I'm sure the antibiotics really helped, but I think a lot of it had to do with increasing my water intake and trying a few home remedies and whatnot, and things just to ease up on this awful sinus pain. So hopefully I've turned the corner on that now, and hopefully it'll be fine. I hope you guys are all doing well and having a good day. I know it's crazy times, but I hope that you're finding things to keep you amused and occupied, and that you and your families are all well. David's still working. They haven't changed anything with construction laws up here, so he's still going to work. And I've pretty well accepted that this year is not going to be my year for getting a job because everything is kind of not hiring at the moment, which is understandable. So I've been tossing up, I think I mentioned this before, about doing either a couple of diplomas or a few short courses, or just really so confused as to what to do. I never thought I'd be this old trying to re-qualify for something when I'm really quite well qualified if I was in my own state, but you know, this is what happens when you move. I knew it would be hard for me. My other options were, I was thinking about learning something that I could do from home and not have to go through this, it's kind of humiliating embarrassment of finding another job and retraining. So thinking about learning maybe something to do with stock markets or something like that, because that interests me. But I think, you know, it's a very steep learning curve, and I think it'd be a while before I could support myself and buy colouring books, put it that way. So we'll see how it goes. Thinking that should have been browner, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, so I hope you guys are enjoying the day wherever you may be. My thoughts are with those in Canada. They've gone through tragedy today. I got up at 5 this morning because David left about 4:30 to go to work. Some days he works earlier than others, so it's different times. So I got up at 5, basically so I can save him the effort of locking the door and all the rest of it, so he can just scoot off down the stairs and go to work. And I thought, well, I'm up, so I'll go for a walk. And so I went by myself because I've tried to take Charlie a couple of times with me, and I think I must have overdone it with him one time last week, and he will not go for a walk with me. He won't budge. He's like, no. So I figure I must have walked him too hard, because he is older. He's like, I think he's going to be 15 this year, and he's got joint and arthritic pain and whatnot, so I think I must have overdone it. Anyway, so I didn't force him to go for a walk with me, and I went and walked around all of the streets and whatnot. I actually did a really big walk. Like every day I'm trying to walk a little bit further, because it's good for your respiratory system as well, especially when you've got things like sinus and chronic bronchitis that I have. And also at that time of morning, there's no one around in this suburb except for a few people on the other side of the road, you know, walking their dogs or whatnot. And it's a lovely temperature. It's not too hot, it's not too cold that you need a jacket, even though it's autumn here. Where I live in Brisbane, it's subtropical, so it's only cold for about 5 minutes, and then you're stripping back off to a t-shirt. Well, I am, because I'm always hot. So I did that, and it was great walking around. So when you're in the car, even though I'm usually the passenger, you don't get to see that much, but when you're walking around, you get to see what people are doing in their gardens, or what they've done with their houses, or just, you know, general life. So that's been really nice, and I've been doing that for the last kind of week. Even though I have a treadmill, I find walking on the treadmill to be not as much fun. Even though I put the TV on and I watch a show and whatnot, I actually prefer to be outside and walk around and look at different houses and things, and every day I go a different way. So the other day I discovered all these parks in the area that I had no idea were there. So I'm getting to see new things and getting to know the neighbourhood a bit more. So is that looking okay? These lyras are going on really well on this KDP paper. KDP is the new name for Createspace, what you might have known as Createspace. KDP or Createspace is used by independent publishers that don't have their own publisher and they're self-publishing their own books, and it's basically print on demand. So when someone orders a book, usually what happens is Amazon, that owns KDP, sparks up the press and prints out the one book, whereas usually with traditional publishers they print out a bulk load of books at a time, like thousands of books, whereas print on demand publishing just prints one at a time. So there's never any storage issues or inventory issues, etc. And you need a giant printing press to do that, because otherwise it'd be too labor intensive and it wouldn't be cost effective. So it's a great way for independent publishers to get out their work, because there's nothing worse than printing out, even at your own cost and expense, printing out thousands of books and then realizing that no one is interested in them, and then you have to get them pulped or sell them at a huge discount, and it just would not be viable. Most artists, some struggle to buy their pens to create their art. So the other day I went around all the streets, and there's this woman, she always walks past our house, and I finally found where she lives, and she really likes plants, or as she says, she likes dirt. And her house is surrounded by those styrofoam fruit packing boxes, and she's got plants in every inch of the space. There's a car in the carport, but you can't get to the car because there's these styrofoam boxes with plants in them everywhere. And I think what she does is she picks up seeds and stuff from trees and whatnot, because she's got a lot of like little small trees growing, and they take, you know, 10-15 years to grow, and she's got those in pots. And she was saying to me that I should be careful of my plants because they'll get stolen, and we've never had any problems with people stealing things here, but well, except for they stole a little pot plant thing, but nothing serious. And the reason why I think that she's got items stolen is because she's got no fence, and she's got literally thousands of plants. It looks like it's a nursery, but it's a home, and she's got all these foam boxes with plants in them. Oh, and that's what I was telling you, the car in the carport, you can't even get to it because the whole thing is surrounded by plants. And even her mailbox is a styrofoam box with mail written on it. So when I start to think that I'm getting a bit plant crazy, I'm got way further to go. Because she said to me when she was coming past one day and she was admiring our tree out the front, which is a leopard tree, she was saying that, you know, we probably should plant some more trees. And I said that we actually had, but they're only about 1.5 meters high, so you can't see them over the fence if you're walking past. So it might not look to people walking past that we've put trees in, but we actually have. And I hope to put a few more in, but we have already put some in. And she was saying that I could go up the road where the shopping centre is and there were these seeds on the ground and I could pick those up and, you know, grow them from seed, and it'd only take me, you know, 5 or 10 years to get the tree. And I thought, sweetheart, I just do not have 5 or 10 years to wait for a tree to grow. Sorry, I'm just going to save up and buy a tree that's already like a metre or something high, because I just don't have time for that. But I really admire people that do have that long-term thinking, but I just couldn't imagine just sitting there waiting that long for this tree to grow to even get to fence height. It'd drive me insane. Anyway, each to their own. So over the weekend I planted a lot more seeds, and I redesigned my garden trying to work out where I'm going to put my seeds when they grow up, and how the flowers will look. I wish I'd sort of had the ability to do that at the beginning, but it was basically a construction zone, so there was nowhere to put things, and then as planter boxes were made, I just put things willy-nilly into them. And so I'm kind of looking forward to them dying off so that I can properly arrange them. So I don't know what you guys did over the weekend, if you did some more colouring or maybe some diamond painting, or spend some time watching TV shows. I'm trying to watch that Tiger King, and I've only done 2 episodes so far. He's certainly a character on those shows. Like, I don't know. I just struggle to believe that someone could have such a crazy life. Like, but anyway, I have such a boring life that I think anything's pretty crazy. But it's kind of different because I always watch Criminal Minds or crime shows or Dexter or Justified or something like that. I like a bit of you know, random killing or a serial killer. It's my kind of favourite relaxation, is a nice serial killer. But Tiger King is just weird. It's just weird. But I'll stick it out and I'll try and get through the series. Whenever I watch too much blood and guts, I then switch over to something that's a little bit sweeter, a bit comedy or whatnot. So last night I was watching Friday Night Dinner, which is a British show. I've seen it all before, but I watch it every now and again. You know, it's on the TV, so you can watch all the seasons of it. And it's a Jewish family, and every Friday they're a very modern Jewish family. Every Friday they have the family dinner, and the 2 kids come over, the 2 sons, and it's hilarious. It's got a bit of swearing in it, so if you don't like swearing, then, you know, it's probably not for you, but I find it hilarious. But I love the British sense of humour. always find things to laugh at on British shows. It's not to say I don't watch US comedy as well. My favourite's Parks and Recreation. I love that show. I find it hilarious, but, you know, again, not everyone has the same sense of humour. I like watching The Office as well sometimes because it kind of reminds me of a few offices I've worked at in my years, but sometimes I don't find The Office as funny as other people do, and I guess we've just got all different senses of humour. And then sometimes I find shows that everyone else raves about, I struggle to wonder what it is that they like about it. So, for example, people have raved about Breaking Bad for years, and we've got that on DVD, and every time I've watched like the first episode or the second episode or whatnot, both David and I are like, oh no, we'll watch something else instead. It kind of just doesn't reel us in like a lot of other shows do, and I kept saying to him, we've got to give it a chance because people do rave about it and they say it's really good and all the rest of it, and I keep saying, well, give it a chance, but it never comes back around to giving it a chance. We find something else to watch instead. So if you have been watching anything good on TV, especially if it's nice crime or something like that, please let me know. I'm always looking for another crime series. I love things like Law and Order, Dexter, Justified, but Justified, a lot of my love for that is I quite like the main character in that. I think he's a nice view. I started watching the show with the people from Parks and Recreation in it this morning. Oh, what's it called? Making It. And they have people that make things and then they judge them and they get a little patch like they give out in the Scouts. And I started to watch that, but because I was washing up at the same time, I thought it might be something that I would have to actually look at rather than listen to. And so I turned it off so that I could actually spend the time looking at it, because I really loved their characters in Parks and Recreation, so I thought it was worthy of actually watching it full on. I like those baking shows where they try and make the cakes. I can't remember what it's called, but I think Baking Fails or something like that. I like watching those. And there's a show that I used to watch, it was called Cake Boss, and he made beautiful decorated cakes. So I like watching those sorts of things as well as crime. And I think I've told you before how much I love watching those documentaries on how things are made. And then I think it was Lisa from Lisa's Colouring Corner told me about a US version of that. So then I got to watch on YouTube another country's version of that show. So I really love watching that. I find it fascinating, like how glacé cherries are made, or I was watching something the other day, like how many strands of saffron have to be picked in order to make up a whole kilo of saffron, or where flowers are growing, or things like that. The problem is that I sometimes only half watch things and I've got them on in the background while I'm generally washing up or cleaning, and so then I have to go back and watch the whole show so that I can pick up on any nuances that I might have missed. But that's okay, I like doing that. So little tiger's burning bright. It's come out very orange. I think maybe his eye needs to be a bit darker. And I've got a new coffee cup. Disregard my grubby coffee that's half in there. But I'm trying to show you without spilling it. It's a bunny rabbit with flowers on it. David got it to me, got it for me for my birthday. And look how much coffee I've spilled over that this morning. That's disgusting. But anyway, it's my new coffee cup. It's actually, he bought me several bunny rabbit coffee cups, but that one's my favourite because it's purple, which is my favourite colour, and I like the flowers around its head, so that is definitely the fave for me. Now, what was I looking for? So I might go this dark brown. Now, I have swatched these out, but as usual, I've put my swatch somewhere safe and I can't remember where that was. I will need to go around this in black and darken all of that Greyscale up, but I won't do it here. I feel like this eyelid needs something darker. I don't know, but anyway, in the meantime we'll do this bit. But yeah, I'm just getting used to this new setup. David did this last night and he stuck the kitchen bench leftover scrap onto the existing desk, and then he's got a space at the back for my tripod. I don't like that. Which is good, but it's left a giant gap between the desk and the wall, and Millie's little cubby house is on the other side of it, and I hope she doesn't fall. And it's kind of weird because now my desk is kind of in the, I don't like that. That's going. I'm going to rub that out. I can't find my rubber because the whole room was reorganised last night. I can't find things, but I think I'm going to rub that out because I don't like the eyelid. I think it needs to be darker. Well, maybe we'll do this instead. But I'm worried that Millie will fall and fall down this like giant gap and hurt herself because it's on the way to her cubby house, so she hasn't bothered to come in and check it out, probably because there was so much stuff on the desk this morning that I had to clear up, and she usually comes in the afternoon to sit in her cubby house, so we'll see what Princess has to say and whether any complaints are going to be made about the new desk arrangement. For me, it's working a lot better because I can get the camera into the position that I'm used to. I don't know if it's working okay for you guys. If you have any issues, please let me know in the comments below. It's all a learning curve, all a journey, especially when you've got new equipment. So at the moment I've got a new desk space, a new camera, and a new tripod and a new light all at once, so it's hard getting used to all the new things, but hopefully it'll make a difference to the filming. And as I've said before, I had to get them because 6 months with the camera broken and cracked screen, and 6 months or more with the tripod broken, it was just getting very ridiculous, especially often I'd put off filming because it was just too difficult, too much hassle. So have you got any Easter eggs for Easter? Have you eaten them all? We got a little bag, but we've still got a couple of left, which is pretty amazing. I think because I've been walking and whatnot, I haven't done my usual consumption of chocolate because I love chocolate. And I'm just like with my pencils, I'm a cheap chocolate addict. It's not the fancy stuff, the Lindt or whatnot, that does it for me. It's just good old Cadbury's is fine for me. Just like my love for my Crayolas and my Collines. It's often, I'm a very cheap date, as I say. But there is one expensive chocolate that I do love, and it's from a shop called Leonardo's in Belgium, which of course is impossible to get to from Australia. And they do fresh chocolates, they hand make them, and they fill them with like a fresh cream filling, and you've got to eat them pretty quickly because otherwise that cream filling will go off. And they are divine, those chocolates. I don't know if it's still around in Belgium, but they are just beautiful. And they did have a branch that ended up opening up in Sydney a few years ago. I'm not sure if it's still there, but at one stage I was working in a building and it had the Leonardo's chocolates in Sydney, but they weren't as good, honestly, as the ones from Belgium. I don't know why, but there was maybe they didn't bring over all the recipes that they use, but they were great, don't get me wrong, but I'm pretty sure the ones in Belgium were slightly different, and they were yum. Oh, yes, I do love chocolate. I can't believe we've still got 2 of those little tiny caramel eggs left, because normally I would just eat those right up. So if you did get some chocolate over the Easter period, have you gobbled it all, or are you saving it? Oh, I have to tell you some super exciting news. I finally got flour. I've been dying to try out my bread maker. And I finally, well, David got me flour from a Greek deli of all places that he was driving past on his way to do some work things. And they had flour. And so he bought, it came in a kilo bag, and it's a Greek brand. I'd never heard of it, and I couldn't find anything about it online type thing. So I imagine the deli is just repackaging the flour that they buy under their own name. Anyway, at least it was bread flour, and I was finally able to use my bread maker and make a loaf of bread. So I did, and I used the recipe in the manual, which it's a Kogan bread maker. And I bought it off Facebook Marketplace for like $20, and it had never been used, so I thought it was a pretty good deal, and I'd wanted a bread maker, so I tried the first recipe in the book with my flour that I was super excited to get, and David felt like he was coming home with the winning lotto tickets, because this flour had been elusive for so long. Anyway, he was that excited about it that he'd rang me up and he's like, we've got flour. And so I tried out the recipe, and it had 3 spoonfuls full of sugar in it, 3 teaspoonfuls in just the plain white bread. So I wanted to learn how to make that before I progressed to like a rye or a sourdough or something else. And I love sourdough, it's my fave. And I found that it was a bit too sweet for me. I know the yeast needs the sugar to activate, etc., but I don't think it needs 3 teaspoonfuls. So I was looking online and I found some other recipes for the plain white bread, and they've got far less sugar in them, like 1 teaspoonful. So I'm hoping that if I reduce that amount of sugar, that it'll all be okay. But it was so weird making your own bread, and the house smelt really good. You could smell it coming out of the bread machine, filling up the rooms with the beautiful baking bread smell. The only thing that I didn't like was I felt it was too sweet, but there's so many recipes, and I've joined a Facebook group that's a bread making group, so they've got a recipe file there, so I'll hopefully be able to find something that suits our taste buds a bit better. I know some people like sweet bread, but I'm not really keen on it. And it might not be sweet to some people, but to me it tastes really sweet. So hopefully that will be worked out soon. And then David went to get a few items from the supermarket last night. And I feel like we have truly won the lotto, because he was able to get a bottle of disinfectant and, get this, a 5 kilo bag of flour, which is the brand of flour that I really wanted for the bread machine. So I felt like it was just Christmas all at once, a bottle of disinfectant and 5 kilos of flour. So now I can experiment more with the bread machine, knowing that I've got the flour there, and I can work out the right sort of proportions for our taste buds. So it's just amazing that it's just like a lotto win to get those items that I would never have thought twice about when I normally did my shop. But I've been waiting for disinfectant for like a month, and I've had a few bottles, like 2 bottles, but I knew that my bottle would be running out this week, so I was super glad that he was able to get a bottle. I mean, the only other option was to get some from the hardware store, and it was super expensive in comparison to what I normally pay for disinfectant. So, problem solved and feeling like a lotto winner. Definitely. I mean, that's the thing about the current situation, is just the small things in life really are appreciated, like the disinfectant and the flour. I was about ready to cry when he brought that home the other day. So excited, had the bread maker out, and because the thing is, because I haven't had any flour, I haven't been able to see if the bread maker worked or not, or if I'd wasted 20 bucks on Facebook Marketplace. So it did work, and every setting on it worked. I was watching it like a hawk. It's got like a little glass windowy type thing that you can watch it knead and rise, and I thought, this is good. And apparently it makes yogurt as well, and jam. The more modern ones make stir fries, but yeah, I'm happy enough with the settings for 20 bucks that it has. I don't need the new one. So that's good. And so we had homemade bread, and I had enough little cherry tomatoes from my garden for a salad, and enough little bits of lettuce leaves from my garden for a salad, and yeah, it made a nice little lunch with the fresh bread. I don't know why I picked this dark blue for this little rug on here. I'm feeling like the layer is not going on as smooth as maybe my Prismas would, but we all know I'm very biased. I love my Prismas. So I thought that I might go for another walk this afternoon, just a small one, and see if Charlie wanted to come for a little tiny walk with his mum. So hopefully he will, because he hasn't been to the park or anything. He's only been walking around the yard and when I took him for a walk, so hopefully he'll... David and I took him for a walk down the street the other night, but not regular walks. So hopefully he'll want to come to the park later today. Maybe he just doesn't like being woken up at 5 in the morning to go for a walk, which I don't blame him. I never used to like it at all. David would wake me up when he was going to work and I'd just be like, oh, no, forget it. But as soon as we moved here, I've been getting up really early and going to bed way earlier than what I used to. I used to be such a night owl. There was often times when David would be leaving for work and I was still up, hadn't gone to bed. I guess it all catches up to you at some stage. I think I'm going to need to use a blender pen to blend this out. It's not really blending very well. Might need another layer on this one. See how we go. So this week I thought I'd crack open Joanna's How to Draw book and start trying to draw a circle or something. So if you've already started, which I'm sure everyone has, I'm always slow, let me know how you got on and if you've got any tips or tricks. Because I have bought it, so I may as well, you know, give it a shot. And I was all excited about doing it when I arrived, and then something came up and it just got pushed aside, like everything ends up. And I haven't got back to it. So all I've done is look at it and not got anywhere further. That eye is really bothering me. Really don't like it. I've got to find my little rubber and take a bit out on that one. Got a bit carried away with that. Maybe we'll put some white in it instead. I've really got to stop talking to myself so much. But I'm not really talking to myself now, I'm talking to you. Yeah. So this afternoon, I'm going to try and tidy up this room now with the change in the desk. Things are everywhere and I feel very crowded. I feel a bit claustrophobic in here because it's such a small room to start with, and now with the desk being pushed back to allow the tripod, it feels even smaller. So I'm going to have to take some things out. I can't stand the feeling that I've got no room whatsoever. And I want to try and find some sort of solution to cover up this big gap at the end of the desk here. There's a big gap, it's over 30 centimetres, so that Millie doesn't fall down the crack, because we don't want to have a colouring session and Millie's down there screaming that she's fallen on the floor or something. And she will scream, that's what she does. She screams if she doesn't get fed on time. She screams if we've left her alone for too long, or if we're on the balcony and we've ignored her. Oh, by the way, I've been taking her out for little walks on her lead just within the house, and she really loves it. So thank you so much for suggesting that long lead. You know, she is really enjoying her little exploring. And it seems like she only wants to do it every now and again, so I feel pretty sort of secure that she's not planning the great escape. I mean, why would she? She gets spoiled rotten, but you never know. But she's really loving it, so I'm glad that she's got that little bit of freedom and supervised freedom. So I might, yeah, come in with the blue. But, yeah, so this afternoon I want to make a start on that Joanna book and clean up this room. Make it a little bit more comfortable to be in. And then hopefully I've got time to reply to some messages and whatnot. I seem to have got a build-up of messages and YouTube comments that I haven't replied to, which I used to be so good, and for a while there I couldn't reply to YouTube messages because there was something wrong with the YouTube system. It either didn't show me messages straight away, and sorry, I mean comments. It didn't show me, or when I went to type my reply, it wouldn't let me input the text, and so I'd wait a bit and try again the next day, and that kind of went on for weeks and weeks, and then whatever glitch it was seemed to be fixed, but I was then really far behind in the messages and trying to reply to them all, so just got too hard to try and go back and reply to everything I might have missed. So hopefully I get a chance today to go back through all of those and reply. And of course the other thing that happened was we didn't have the internet there for, what was it, 6 weeks, and then I actually had to change, I changed the internet, and I had to ring and complain 5 times and had to wait for maintenance and all the rest of it. So in between the internet not working, storms, and the YouTube glitch, I've gotten really behind with answering comments. So please forgive me. It's not intentional. I was always very good at answering comments, etc. But once we moved here, I've had nothing but problems with the internet, and I'm hoping it's just finally resolved now, but it's been far too long, you know, and far too many times to keep putting up with it. But hopefully it's all resolved now. So please excuse the delay. It's certainly not intentional. I don't mean to ignore you or be rude, because I've always replied to comments and messages. It's just that they've now built up so much, and it's now just a matter of trying every day to get through a few and try and knock it off slowly, bit by bit. And also emails and Facebook messages and all the rest of it. And with the Facebook messages, I'm getting a lot of messages that are just rubbish, you know, look at this video that's sent to 500 people type thing. And it takes time to open up each of those and then realise it's not a real message that needs replying to. So it just slows me down even further. I've been trying to finish up those whips that I showed you the other week. So I think I'm on track to finish 2 this week, and just then next week I'll finish another 2, and then that's it. No more whips. But as soon as I said, you know, I wasn't starting any more pictures, I, you know, started that bunny rabbit one, and, you know, it didn't last very long, did it? The no more whips. I'm going to blend that out a bit, I think, with a blender pen. Now, what are we doing here? Should we do a red heart? I should have sharpened these pencils up. I'll do a red heart, and then I might finish the rest myself. Yeah. So I don't know how long I've been chattering for, but I do know that my voice is getting sore and my ears aching, which means I need to keep an eye and make sure that I don't get a throat infection. That's usually the signs with me. I might just put white on that one. Yes, I'm going to need to go over this with some black for the tiger. Might do this one red too. Yeah, it needs to be sharpened up, and I'll need to get that blender pen on his blankie. It's quite cute, isn't he? I love this picture. This is, I think, the only book that I've got from Heather Valentine. I could be wrong. I think it's the only one though. And it's very cute. Not sure about these flowers though, if they should be orange. Do you know, I always forget to colour something in. I cannot believe it. Look at this. I've just forgotten to colour his feet. Every single time I don't notice something on a picture, and I've already moved on to something else and forgotten to colour it. You'll have to do that. It's going to bother me. We'll have to finish up with this bit. So, oh, I forgot again about telling you the colours. That one, the red that I used was light carmine, and the blues that I used were these ones. What are they now? Light blue, Paris blue, and true blue. And sorry to those people that asked me to show the pencil colours. It's all new to me and I keep forgetting, because I just basically pick up what I think might work. And this one is light ochre. So there's our little tiger and the blanket. And I'm going to finish him up off screen. I hope that you have a absolutely wonderful day. I'm back, and so I wouldn't end up with another whip, which is the last thing that this girl needs. I finished up the cute little image, and I just did a Sharpie background, just really rough. It's just meant to be a cute little bit of fun, and the rest was done with the Lyra Rembrandts. I didn't use a blender pen or anything, I just left it the way it was. So there's our cute little tiger. And I'll see you next time. Stay safe and happy colouring.